Cruising is one of the fastest growing vacation types in the United States. There's a lot of new folks that are taking up cruising for the first time, and along with that taking up cruising for the first time comes a lot of questions. Now, we've answered many of these questions on our Tuesday night live show and in individual correspondence, but I thought it'd be cool to start compiling these questions in a format where everybody could watch them. So today we're going to tackle 10 of them. It's 10 common cruise questions and answers coming to you right after this. Hey, what's up everybody? Tony with La Lita Loca. Welcome to the YouTube channel. If you're new here and you're into cruising, consider subscribing with the notification bell on. Hit that bell so you don't miss out on any of our new cruising content. It is important to note that each cruise line does things a little differently. The authoritative spot to go for the answer to all of these questions would be the website of the cruise line or to call Cruise Line's customer service, just to make sure that none of the information here is different or changed for your cruise line. Go right to that customer service line for your cruise line and they will tell you what's what. So let's jump into the questions. These are in no particular order, and if you have a cruising question that I don't cover in this video, leave it in the comments and we can add it to a future episode. Do I need a passport? It's an interesting question. Whenever somebody asks me, do I need a passport? I always say yes, but technically you do not need a passport for some of your cruise travels out of the United States. A cruise is considered a closed loop journey when you leave from one destination in the United States and return to that same destination. Just as an example, if you have a cruise out of Miami going to the Bahamas and that cruise returns to the same port in Miami, that's considered a closed loop. You do not need your passport for that type of travel. All that's required is a state-issued ID and your birth certificate. Now, the reason we tell people to get a passport is that if anything goes wrong on that cruise and if for some reason you get stranded in the Bahamas, you cannot fly home with just your state-issued ID and your birth certificate. You actually need a passport to get on an airplane and to go back home. The passport is a little pricey, but it's a 10-year investment. You can get a passport and then you can fly internationally. And if you have any aspirations of doing cruises that originate in Europe or anywhere outside of the United States, Canada, Australia, Asia, you need a passport for that. So technically you do not need a passport for a majority of your cruises to the Caribbean out of the United States. However, the safe play is to have it. A popular embarkation day question is, how early can I go to the cruise port? Many of the cruise lines have tried to streamline their embarkation process by assigning times to cruisers for them to show up at the cruise port. The best approach to that is if the cruise line has assigned you a time, that is the time that you should go to the cruise port. Many times if you show up early and they check and see what time you are assigned, they will not let you into the queue and you'll be forced to wait until your assigned time, which would be a bummer. Now, the exception to that are the cruise lines that offer priority boarding packages like Carnival's Faster to Fun or Royal Caribbean's The Key. When you do your online check-in, even though you have Faster the Fun, you will get assigned a time on Carnival. However, because you have Faster the Fun, you can show up at the cruise port as early as you like. There's a designated line for the Faster the Fun and you can walk right in and jump right in. Those would really be the only exceptions. For the most part, you need to stick to what time is assigned to you by the cruise line. That helps them manage the embarkation day process and hopefully makes it quicker and smoother for everybody. A frequent question is, how does money work on the cruise ship? They do a good job of making sure that everything that needs to be purchased on board can be purchased with your shipboard account. The shipboard account is normally accessed through your room key. Some cruise lines have wearables like medallions where you can just scan something that you wear on your wrist to make a room charge. And there's still some instances where they use pen and paper to make charges to your room, where they request your information and the charge will show up on your shipboard account. The goal is really not to carry around a lot of money. However, for instances like visiting a port, cash is king, and we'll cover that in the next question. How much money should I bring? This question is going to vary a lot depending on the person, but let's just break it down a little bit. When you book your cruise, you're paying for your cruise fare, you're paying any taxes that are associated with that cruise fare, and you are paying for port fees. Those are fees that you pay when you go and visit the various ports. That is normally all paid before you get onto your cruise. Once you get on board, those fees will cover your lodging, your cabin. It will cover some food, which is primarily the MDR, the main dining room, or the buffet, and any included food options like Lido restaurants, for Carnival like Guy's Burgers or Royal Caribbean's Sorrento Pizza Place. All of those will be included in your base fare. You don't have to pay any extra money for that. The port fees that you paid originally also allow you to get off the ship at the various ports that you go to, and it will include some basic beverages on most cruise lines like water, coffee, tea, milk, those kind of things. What it does not include is specialty dining, alcoholic beverages, souvenirs, pictures, shopping on the cruise ship, or casino gambling. It doesn't include any money that you'll need when you go out to the port. It also does not include tours and shore excursions. So as you can see, there are things that you have paid for and things that you have not paid for, so you do need to budget some money. As we spoke about in a previous question, cruising is basically a cashless system, and so many of those things on the cruise ship you can charge to your shipboard account, which you'll pay either with cash or with the debit or credit card that you've put on file. So the big takeaway is you don't have to carry around a lot of cash, but one place you will need cash most likely is at the port stops that you go to. What I've heard from most people, a good rule of thumb is $100 per person when you go out and about at port. It allows you to buy food and beverage, pay cash for taxis, get souvenirs, tip out people in cash. It allows you to do a variety of things that does not require your credit card or your debit card. So $100 per day per person will be a good rule of thumb for some people. And then again, if you're a gambler, don't forget to make a casino budget. It's all very subjective, so you have to decide what your budget allows and then make sure that you bring that. And to round out the money talk, another big question is, can I use cash in the casino? The way the casino works on most cruise lines is you have the option to charge gambling to your shipboard account using your room key or your wearable, or you can use cash to gamble with. Again, it's completely your preference. The casino will pay you out in cash. Say for example, you have purchased $50 in credits for the casino on your shipboard account and you're gambling with them and you hit a big jackpot, you win $1,000. That goes onto your shipboard account as gambling winnings, and you can take that to the cashier at the casino and get cash. Some people like cash in the casino as a way to manage their budget, possibly using an envelope system to track their wins and losses. It's a lot easier to quit gambling when you run out of cash, opposed to just pushing another button to charge more to your shipboard account. You can do it either way. Obviously, if you use your shipboard account, you don't have to carry all that money around, but again, it comes with its own risk. Another question is, can I bring alcohol aboard the cruise ship? Many of the cruise lines will allow you to bring a bottle of wine per adult onto the cruise line. They consider an adult somebody who's 21 years of age, and the wine needs to be a 750 milliliter bottle, which is pretty standard for most bottles of wine. There are some cruise lines that don't allow anything at all to come on board. You just need to check with your cruise line before you cruise, but for the most part, it's one bottle of wine per adult. No hard liquor is allowed. They want to sell that to you on the cruise ship. But don't forget to bring your wine where possible. At least that's a start. Another question relating to alcohol is, what about the alcohol I buy when I'm at port? Say I am in Jamaica and I buy some rum. Can I bring that right back to my room and consume it while I am on my cruise? The answer to that is no. When you purchase alcohol, when you are at port, the cruise line will actually hold that alcohol for you till the end of the cruise. Part of the process of returning to the ship is turning over any alcohol that you purchased in port. And again, you will not be able to consume that during the cruise. You have to wait till the end of the cruise where that alcohol is returned to you. A frequent question that we get is, do I have to get off at every port on a cruise? It's a great question. You will be paying port fees for every port that the itinerary has. So if you have 3 port stops on a 7-day cruise, you're paying the port fees for all 3 of those port stops, but you don't have to get off at any of them. Sometimes it's advantageous not to get off the cruise ship. If you're somebody that likes a little bit of a less crowd, if you don't like navigating a foreign land, if you're happy with the amenities of the cruise ship and you want those more all to yourself, that's a great time to stay on the cruise ship. It's not going to be completely empty. I hope I'm not overselling that there, but the majority of the people do get off on the cruise ship and a small percentage stay on. So if you're one of those people that like to have the cruise ship a little more less crowded, staying on the ship at a port is a great approach. One thing to note, if the cruise line cancels a port, for weather or any other reason, you can go to customer service and ask for a refund of your port fees. Not all cruise lines do that automatically, and not everybody knows to go ask. So I just give you that bit of information when it comes to ports. If you can't go to port because of the cruise ship, you are entitled to a refund of those port fees. Another question that we get a lot is a popular one in cruising circles. Do I have to follow the dress code when I go to the main dining room? Every cruise line has a recommended dress code for their main dining room, and sometimes that dress code is modified whether or not it is formal night. So you'll have a standard main dining room dress code, and you'll also have a formal night dress code. Let me say this. I have been on 4 different cruise lines. I've eaten in the main dining room on every one of those cruise lines, and on every cruise, I have seen somebody that has violated the dress code for the dining room. I don't think the cruise lines are enforcing it. That's my takeaway. You might get some stern looks from disappointed other passengers, but who cares? For the most part, I do not think in the main dining room the cruise line are turning people away for the way that they are dressed. One instance where they may turn you away is specialty dining. It does seem on some of the specialty dining restaurants, they hold to their dress code a little more firmly. I do know of an example of someone turned away on a steakhouse because they were not following the proper dress code. So I would say be cautious if you're going to specialty dining. Make sure you follow whatever dress code they may have. But for the main dining room, I don't think you're going to get turned away. I'm sure there are exceptions to that because it is in the policy. I'm assuming they could turn you away, but I've never seen it happen. Another embarkation day question, can I bring snacks on the cruise ship? Cruise lines do have policies around what food you can bring on the cruise ship on embarkation day. I think the best rule of thumb is it has to be pre-packaged and sealed. You're not going to be able to bring grandma's homemade chocolate chip cookies in a Ziploc bag on board. But if you go pick up a box of sealed Teddy Grahams or your favorite candy bar or whatever snack that you feel like you're going to need for the week, as long as that is pre-packaged and sealed, most cruise lines will not have an issue with you bringing them on board. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please hit the like button if you did. Again, if you're new, consider subscribing. Follow us on all of our social media. This is Tony with La Lido Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.